Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video I'm going to talk about the Canon EOS R6. As you can see here, this is a camera that I got recently. I rented it out for 4 days and I have to return it tomorrow. So I got an opportunity to take this camera to New York City over the weekend and shoot some videos about it. So in this video, it's all about my experience and my initial thoughts on what do I think about this camera from a video camera perspective, not as a photo camera, because I barely use it to capture any photos. I mainly use it for videos. So that's what I'm going to share today. So let's start. First thing I want to cover is the colors, because this camera have 422 colors. So I was super thrilled and impressed to see what that looked like. But surprisingly, when I was looking at the footage on the computer, what I'm seeing is it has a high red color. I don't know if it's just me, my settings or anything like that, but obviously the red color was very dominant and it was pretty evident in all the footage. I'm sure I didn't mess up any settings because I had in Canon log with 4K 24 frames per second with 1/50th of a shutter. The only thing I noticed is ISO I didn't change, so it was going up and down, but that should not have impacted the color. But that's the one thing that I noticed, that the red color was kind of popping pretty much in all the footage. And I tried to see if it is if it is just in certain footage or not, but anywhere there is a red color, then if I bring the saturation all the way to black and white and slightly bring it up, the first color that pops out is significantly compared to other colors is red. If it had red, the moment I turn little bit from black and white to the normal color, red will come in full effect. So I think there is something about this camera where red is a dominant color. Even with the skin tone, I had to bring down the red color from the skin drastically. When I was using EOS R or any other cameras in the past, I never had to worry about skin tone because it was perfect. I always have to deal with the red color, reducing it on the Sony side, but this is the first time I'm seeing that on a Canon camera where I have to play with my skin tone to bring the redness a little bit down to the yellow side. So that's something that I noticed in the very first few shot itself. All right, number 2 is stabilization. So I use the Canon RF 15 to 35 millimeter f2.8 RF lens, and it has stabilization on, and I did not turn on the digital stabilization. So I walked with the lens stabilization, and you can see on the footage that there is enough shake in the footage, but in post I added stabilization and then that fixed. So if you want a smooth steady shot, you may have to use not just the IBIS and the lens stabilization, you may still want to turn on the digital image stabilization. So even with EOS R, if you turn on the lens stabilization and the digital image stabilization, you would get almost the same result. So the price for IBIS, is it worth it? I don't know. So just interesting to see that it's not completely as smooth with the IBIS. So something to think about if you want to pay the extra price for the IBIS and the colors, if those two are the two things that I noticed immediately. Number 3 is low light and bringing up shadows and how the performance of the footage was. Was there any noise in the shadows and things like that? So in my case, the footage that I shot, it was a cloudy day, the sun was not peaking. So on this footage where you see the ship, I was exposing for the sky, so where people are walking, that part was kind of very dark. So in post I had to bring up the shadows a bit, and I'm not seeing any much noise in the shadows, so that's a good thing. Even the other shot when I was shooting under the bridge, it was a little dark underneath the bridge because of the shade. So I had to bring up the shadows there, and I didn't notice much noise in those pictures. And then later in the night we went to a restaurant, and there the only ambient light was on the table, and I kept the ISO I think auto, so that's why it was going up and down brightness level. So but overall I had to bump up the image shadow a little bit high, and it did not ruin the footage, or it did not bring any noise into the footage. So that's obviously a good thing. This is not going to be a low light monster, because in the other shot where it was completely dark and in the sky you can see some noise around, even though the buildings are bright and lit well enough, but the shadows, when I brought up the shadows in post, you can definitely see some noise on the sky. All right, number 4 is definitely the color. You can get pretty awesome color, and because it's 422, you can tweak the color pretty much in post. But I tried to shift the colors, and it's easy to do it with 422 file. Obviously I had to shift, pick some color masking and then change only those colors. So I tried with the watercolor in this footage, and I just picked a random color like aqua blue, and it did pretty easy and processed well. So I would say I'm impressed with the file. All right, now last but not the least is the file size and the workflow. So obviously because of the 10-bit 422, the file size is pretty huge, and what I'm seeing is almost 1 minute video would take around 1 to 2 GB. So the longer you shoot, the more storage you're gonna need. And the other thing is, when I process that in my computer, obviously if I don't create the proxies, it was slowing down completely. So every time I have to import the footage, I had to create the proxies and then work with the proxies. So that was something not that I had to do with the other EOS R and Sony A7 III. So that's definitely something that's going to slow down my post workflow. So those are my initial thoughts and impression. Would I get this over EOS R? I would say you don't have to, because if we are not dealing with changing the color a bit, you're happy with the natural Canon colors, I think EOS R can definitely do the same thing. If you're not worried about the 4K crop and all, so I would be happy with EOS R. I don't think I would pay for the IBIS, and the color from coming out of it, there is something off. It's not typical Canon, so that's why I'm not so thrilled. Otherwise I would be all up in the air for this one, but what I'm seeing from a color wise, it doesn't look like, it kind of feels like Sony, where I had to bring down the red overall from my face and skin tone to normal. In typical Canon style, the Canon colors, especially skin tones, are pretty awesome, but I'm not seeing that on this one right out of the box. So I'm sure there might be some tweakings that I have to do to get to that. So with EOS R, I can get that right out of the box. So that's something, my observation. So for me, I don't think I would upgrade from EOS R to the R6 yet, unless there are some firmware changes and makes this more interesting. those are my thoughts and experience over the short period. So tomorrow I have to return this, so I thought I'll make a video and share my experience here. All right, I hope you like this video. If you did, give it a like, and if you're new here, consider subscribing for more videos. All right, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.